Let's take a look at some information and charts on Sushi for Brave New Coin. So Sushiswap is a fork of Uniswap. There is a tome of history at this point as far as what happened immediately preceding that fork. The dev attempting to run away with some funds, the dev returning with the funds, multi-sig keys, all that sort of fun stuff. I'm not going to go into in this video. But unlike Uni, Sushi is going multi-chain. They're going multi-offering with different programs and incentives and markets, staking. They kind of have to stand out in some way. They're listing a lot more stuff that I can tell in a kind of freewheeling fashion. When you look at the farming pools, it's a bunch of, BSC type of fly-by-night stuff that's probably going to disappear quickly, but allures people in with the high yield. It says they have 14 chain support, which I didn't even know. And they're basically on every single DeFi platform along with all the other DEXs. So they're definitely ingrained at this point. They're not really going anywhere anytime soon. Here's what the portal looks like. Again, just classic swap platform. Like Uni, I think most people eventually aren't going to use these DEX websites specifically. They're going to go through aggregators or portfolio viewers like Xerion and DeBank. And here's the farming stuff I was talking about. All of this stuff is extremely high annualized yield, very questionable whether or not it'll be here tomorrow type of stuff. So always keep that in mind. Yields are high for a reason, and that's usually not a good reason, especially when it's 200% annualized. They have different types of farms, different types of staking. They have a borrowing market, lending market, right? They're trying to compete with everybody, which is what they should be doing from a business perspective. And they should be trying to get all of these different programs connected to everybody else. Like I wish I could get this yield on Enzyme, for example. So that's the next step. Create the market, bring people in, and then get it connected so the interoperability is with everything else, because that'll bring in TVL, eyeballs, that sort of thing. Speaking of TVL has continued to decline since March, declined since May. So immediately seeing stuff like this, just like Uni, can't be bullish, specifically volume, which really hasn't ever been massively high on any given day, but it's declined significantly since that liquidation spike in May 18th. If we look at Uni today, Sushi today, it's down the list at 6.5% of total DEX volume, including aggregators over the past 24 hours. If you look at Sushi here in the blue, it is a definitive slice of volume on a daily basis, but it's not really outpacing anything. Maybe bigger than Curve on any given day, but definitely not bigger than Uni on any given day. And on a monthly basis, on this green color here, you can see they had a big month in May, a couple big preceding months, but that is dwindling quickly along with all DEX volume. So it's hard to be bullish the token when volumes are declining, right? That's any exchange. We can look at annualized revenue as well when we are trying to figure out what's a better buy. Uni, Sushi, Curve, Bancor, Balancer. Unlike Uni, Sushi has some protocol revenue, and it's not all supply side revenue. So I'd expect protocol revenue to hold firm in a bear market relative to supply side revenue, which will probably shrink significantly as volume declines significantly in a bear market, typically. We can use that information to look at TVL over annualized revenue. Uni and Sushi are basically neck and neck there. And then we can look at a PE ratio equivalent, market cap versus annualized revenue. Sushi is the better buy amongst the group based on this metric. Do any of these metrics really matter in the long term? I think it's too early. We're just sort of looking at legacy type of analysis and trying to fit it to crypto. But I think it'll take some time to create new metrics that makes sense and to determine whether or not these metrics even matter in crypto relative to legacy. They should matter, but will they? I don't know. So Uni clearly far behind Sushi when it comes to market cap over annualized revenue. So this would suggest that these coins here are overbought or have a lower upside relative to coins over here, Sushi, Balancer, Aave, that sort of thing. Just something to consider. Something I look at, right, when I'm looking at this stuff for Enzyme. Here's Sushi's TVL again. It's sort of waxed and waned since January. It's not back to January low highs or lows, but it's declining, right? Volumes, again, definitely different post May 18th. Transactions declining, ready for multi-month lows. Users sort of flat and declining. Oracle calls flat, kind of in both respects here, number and call contracts. So just looking at this, not even looking at the price chart, I'd say, yeah, this doesn't look as healthy as it did from January to May, right? And we can look at TVL and DeFi Llama, and again, it's just down and doesn't look like it's recovered much over the past few months since May. Yeah, past few weeks, I guess, since mid-May. Transaction counts, this is the initial release of the token, and since then, for the most part, they've just been flat. Maybe a subtle uptrend. Average transaction value is down. So not a lot of on-chain activity here. And relative to Uni, kind of equal amounts of transactional activity for the token since May 18th. So it just looks like people are gone, right? Anybody who was here, got liquidated, or got sick of the market, or is down significantly. If you look at active addresses, Uni versus Sushi, basically extremely similar to each other. Peaks and troughs. Sushi specifically, since the initial token release, has kind of held firm at 1,500 active addresses, and NVT has continued to increase since May. So not a bullish picture there on the NVT side of things. And Sushi's Google Trends, just like Uni, have declined. But when we compare the two, it makes sense that Uni has most of the volume, right? You can see it. If Google Trends is a proxy for interest or use, really, Uniswap got extremely popular relative to Sushi, and all that has declined significantly. So it makes sense that Sushi's down significantly price-wise. Sushi's weaker than Uni. Sushi has continued to push lower relative to Uni, right? On the daily cloud, it's still showing, just like everything else, mean reversion potential to 14. That's why I tweeted this out the other day. So long as we don't make lower lows, I still like 14. If this continues to look as weak as it does, 14 is off the table. We also really needed to breach this midline of this pitchfork. So this pitchfork's declining, right? But the mean reversion potential to the top side of this pitchfork doesn't ever disappear. It says, yeah, we're bearish. This is a buy. This is a sell. If we break the midline, we're probably going higher. If we break the midline to the downside, we're probably going lower. And the fact that we got denied at the midline certainly isn't a good sign that this is going to make any attempt to 14 in the near term. It would probably have to reconsolidate somewhere around 8 for those higher highs in the near term. Looking at the 12-hour cloud, never got into the cloud really per se. It kind of got denied, but again, there's that 14 level. Here's your edge-to-edge trade. Pretty much every crypto chart looks very similar to this. Never got above the 8-hour cloud. So if you want to cheat that trade a little bit for an earlier entry, I would look at the 8-hour. And until it's above the cloud on the 8-hour, it's just going to be sideways down, most likely. And on the 12-hour, it had a very strong 5,200 bull cross, and that's crossed bearish even on the daily. That's a bear cross. Most of the volume is 290 or lower. There's a pivot, monthly pivot at 5. The next monthly pivot is at $1.70. The yearly open is also down there at $1.70. So I don't think it's unreasonable that we may potentially go that low if everything starts to sell off and look weak, and if this bear trend really ramps up in ferocity. Here's the Sushi-BTC chart on the 12-hour, and it's had a series of inverted head and shoulders that have had kind of a 50% hit rate, but now it just looks, below the 200, death cross, below volume support. It looks like it's headed to previous volume range, basically the yearly open. Monthly pivot down there at, I think that's 10,000 sats, not 1,000. But anyway, somewhere down here, right? This is where price looks like it wants to go relative to BTC, and on the ETH pair, it also looks like it's ready for lower lows. I mean, these lows currently on Sushi don't look like they're going to hold as strong as they do for Uni, and most of the volume is kind of 50% lower historically. There isn't a lot of chart history here, so it's hard to really say what matters in the end, but if we're just looking at what we have, it's 18,0018, whatever that is. That's the next level down on Sushi ETH. So in general, until volumes come back, users come back, transactions come back, Google Trends comes back, on-chain history comes back, it's just hard to be bullish or have a bullish expectation, even despite that mean reversion potential on TA. Lastly, I'll just mention the ETH-BTC fund and DeFi portfolio. I trade for Techemy Capital, Enzyme.finance, non-custodial portfolio management tool, where you can see AUM, performance, allocation, deposits, withdrawals, all the trades I make, what I do for when, how much, what I'm putting in lending, where I'm trading. You can see all that stuff. We do have sushi in here. I think, yeah, a little bit of sushi, because of that mean reversion potential, right? That hasn't worked out yet, but I'm not exactly ready to fire sale this stuff for the second time. So we're currently still like 80-20 into DeFi stuff. Obviously taking a hit since we started this thing in April, but some of the stuff I can yield or get yield for as well. Sushi, I don't really have great yield options. Currently, I really have nothing on Enzyme. So until they kind of link into Sushi, the exchange, I'm limited on what I can do with Sushi on that side of things. That's all for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.